In this video and probably in the next few ones, we're going to dive into the code and streamline it so it works a little bit better. And I'm not only talking about performance, we're going to revisit the code to fix some issues and make the syntax easier to write and overall streamline the code so it's easier to maintain. And this will allow us to expand the code even more and add more features in the future. So this is definitely an important step. And in game development, this is usual. Sometimes you have to take periods where you just hammer at the code until you get a solid foundation. So today we're going to look at an issue that we didn't really create, but it comes from the fact that we've been using scriptable objects as behavior trees. Here I have 3 characters, a couple of sentries, and my player character. The sentries have an AI object with the sentry behavior tree over here. So this sentry is a scriptable object that's shared between multiple objects. Now, if you define some variables on the sentry script, you are indeed defining variables in an object that will be shared between multiple NPCs, and that could cause a lot of issues. And it's very easy to make these mistakes, especially when you're using lambda expressions. And I actually made this mistake. I didn't even realize it. And we're going to fix it right now. So we are in the sentry behavior tree, in behavior tree script sentry. I want you to pay attention to a small detail that may cause some problems. So our sentry behavior tree is a scriptable object, and this is very important. The scriptable object could be shared by a lot of NPCs. So we have to be very careful because we may create some variables that are local to this scriptable object. And if we use them while they're attached to the scriptable object, then all the NPCs that use this behavior tree will share those variables. So for example, if target is shared among a lot of NPCs, then one NPC may override its value while another one may use that value. And of course, it could lead to errors in your game AI code, and these are usually hard to track. So we will solve this problem and also make accessing data for tasks a lot easier by giving our tasks access to the behavior tree and subsequently to the data stored in this behavior tree. So let's go to scripts, task system, then let's go to behavior tree. So this is the behavior tree script. On the script, we have a reference to behavior tree data. When we create the behavior tree in the create behavior tree internal method, we're calling create behavior tree on the scriptable object of the behavior tree. Then we're calling create data with this data as parameter. So the scriptable object has an opportunity to set the data. And now we will give each task on the behavior tree an opportunity to access the behavior tree itself and also access this data. And that could have a lot of use cases. For example, if you want a task to restart the whole behavior tree, or in our case, the problem that we're facing right now is that we need tasks to store and retrieve data without having to use shared variables defined on the scriptable object, because that could lead to problems. So here we have the awaken root task method, and in here we're setting the owner for each task. So we're going to do the same for setting a behavior tree. So we're going to call root.setBehaviorTree with this object, and we're just going to copy the setOwner method. So let's control click on it. On the task class, let's add a reference to the behavior tree. It's going to have a get and a protected set. Let's also have a reference to the behavior tree data. Let's just call it data. So all the tasks in the behavior tree will have access to this data and will be able to set or get variables in here. So below the set owner, let's create another method, set behavior tree, which takes the behavior tree and sets the behavior tree property. Now we need to override this method for each of our major task types. Let's click on the references for set owner. So we're overriding set owner for the composites and also in the composite condition, in the decorator and in the interrupt decorator. So let's do the same for set behavior tree. Let's go to our composite class. Underneath the setOwner method, let's override setBehaviorTree. So we're going to do pretty much the same thing that we did in the setOwner method. We're going to call base setBehaviorTree. Then for each task in the children, we're going to call setBehaviorTree, then call the method on the condition and on the interrupt condition. Now let's go to the decorator. We're going to call base setBehaviorTree, then call setBehaviorTree on the child as well. So in the composite condition, here I'm noticing that we're not actually setting the owner on the composite condition. So we're going to call base.setOwner. Then we're going to set the owner for each child, and we're going to do the same for setBehaviorTree. So we're going to call base.setBehaviorTree. Then for each child condition, we're going to call setBehaviorTree on it. Now let's go to tasks decorators and let's go to the interrupt decorator. Since we're overriding the setOwner here, let's also override the setBehaviorTree method, and we're going to call it on each child condition. Now let's go back to task. I'm just going to make sure that the references to setOwner match the references to setBehaviorTree. So let's go over it again. So we're overriding setOwner on composite condition, on decorator, and in the interrupt class. Now let's look at the references on setBehaviorTree. So we're overriding it in composite condition, in decorator, and in the interrupt decorator. Okay, so it looks like we're doing it right. Now let's go back to our behavior tree. Let's go to the behavior tree data definition. So here we have lists of NPCs, floats, and other variables. Let's control click on shared variable list. So here we are using a private list to hold the list of variables. However, a more appropriate data structure would be a dictionary, since we're going to be storing the variables by name and retrieving them by name. So I'm not going to use a dictionary for now, just because the Unity inspector doesn't serialize dictionaries. In the behavior tree viewer or the behavior tree inspector, we could write some code to manually display the values of the dictionary, but we're not going to do this right now. So we're going to use a list, since in the foreseeable future, we're not going to have a lot of variables on the behavior tree. So the number of variables will be limited. Like if you have 10 or 20 variables, looping through them to find a variable by name is not going to cost you in terms of performance. And if you have thousands of NPCs with lots of variables on their behavior trees, then you should change the whole structure of your code, because in this case, you might want to use ECS or some form of data-driven structure rather than using monobehaviors. So in any case, for the sake of simplicity, let's keep using lists, but let's change the methods. I added a set method that will set the name of the variable before adding it. If list already contains the variable v, we remove it, and we are not going to use the add method anymore. So we're going to print an error message if you've added a variable without a name. That way, if we have existing behavior trees that do this, we'll get notified and we'll change them. And in the get method, what we'll do is print an error message if we don't have the variable. So we'll print variable named name, not found in BT data. Going back to our Sentry behavior tree. So to create a behavior tree, we use create behavior tree, but it would be simpler if we have a reference to the behavior tree in here rather than having to override the create data method. So let's go back to our behavior tree script. So in here, I previously said that create behavior tree is done in create behavior tree internal, and I'm actually only using this in the behavior tree viewer, but I should be also using it here. So let's use it in the awaken root task, and in create behavior tree internal, we're not going to call create data. So we're going to completely remove the create data method. And what we're going to do is simply pass the reference to the behavior tree in the create behavior tree method like this. So we're going to remove the call to create data. So let's go back to the external behavior tree script. In scripts, task system behavior tree. So we're going to modify this to take a behavior tree in here, and we're going to simply remove the create data method. So we have 5 references to this, and these references will be mostly on our behavior tree scripts. So we need to go back to each of these scripts, and instead of using create data, use this new signature method of the create behavior tree. So let's comment this out. Let's start in our Sentry behavior tree. So we're going to have a reference to our behavior tree here. So after we instantiate our target variable, we're going to store it in the behavior tree data. So we're going to call behavior tree.data.npclist .set, and we're going to give it our target with the target string. You know what? Let's also store the value of our NPC in here. And previously we created a custom action in order to store the value of NPC, but instead we can do it directly in here. We could set NPC value to behavior tree.getComponent in parent of type NPC, and that way we store the value of the NPC in here and we set it on the behavior tree data. Then we create the target variable and store it in the behavior tree data. You know what? I don't like this syntax very much. So let's go back to task system data and behavior tree data. Okay, so for NPCs, we have a set NPC method and a get NPC method. This is a simple shortcut. So I asked ChatGPT to create a similar method for each of the remaining types. So we have set float, get float. We have set bool and get bool. I'm just making sure that it has generated the proper code. We have set int, which sets the variable in int lists. Then get int. We have set string and get string, set vector tree, get vector tree, set vector 2, get vector 2, set transform and get transform, set game object and get game object. So this is just a simple shortcut. Now back to our sentry. So here, instead of doing this, we could say set NPC, and also here we could just say set NPC. You don't have to do this, but I like the shorter syntax. So we no longer need this custom action in here. We're going to remove it. Now let's go to create engage branch. So we're mostly going to be changing the code in the lambda expressions because this is where the problem happens. So now, instead of using NPC and target, we're going to get these values from the behavior tree. We're going to get the behavior tree from task. So task behavior tree, and we're going to get the data. Okay, so we're getting the NPC and the target from the data on the behavior tree, and we're using these variables instead of the ones that we pass in the arguments over here. Let's do the same in the investigate hostile branch. So in the lambda expression where we override the utility, let's get the NPC and the target from the behavior tree data, and let's use them instead of the values that are passed in the arguments of this method. We also have the same problem in the investigate noise branch. So here we're using NPC to get the sensor. So here we can either get the value on the behavior tree data, or we can simply say task.owner get component in parent NPC, and this will get us the NPC reference. So after we get the NPC reference, we can get the sensor and then do the rest. Let's also do the same thing in create investigate combat noise. So if you try to run the game, you will have a lot of compilation errors. That's because we removed the create data method. So I'm going to go back to the script off screen and remove the overrides of create data and replace them with the new signature of create behavior tree. For example, I have my guard behavior tree here. Now let's see how we can upgrade it. Here I'm creating a main target variable and I'm instantiating it in the constructor of the scriptable object. So this will not work. So what we can do is simply have the definition here. So I'm going to remove this. So in the create behavior tree method, it's important that all shared variables that you use are instantiated in here. That way you will create a new instance of these shared variables for each behavior tree that you create. So in here, I'm going to set main target to new shared NPC, and I'm going to add this variable to my behavior tree data using behavior tree.data.set NPC. Okay, let's run the game. Now I have my sentry here. I'm going to press V, and he's going to investigate the noise. So everything is working fine. Now the problem will not be visible if you have one NPC. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate our sentry. First, let's put the NPC a little bit closer to the sentry. Or let's work over here. Let's add a few sentries. So I'm going to go to content, prefabs, NPC. Then where is our sentry? Right here. Okay, so I'm going to add a sentry and I'm going to add another one over here. Let's have some sentries close to each other. Okay, so if I do it like this, now I'm going to run the game. So I'm going to press V to whistle and they're all going to go to the position of the noise. So with our previous code that was prone to errors, if we're making noise here, then the sentry on the other side of the level may confuse the variables with the variables of these NPCs, and may come to investigate the noise at our position. So that's one possibility. Of course, it depends on a lot of factors, but the way we're doing it right now is safer and less error prone. Okay, so we have functioning sentries, so we can whistle and they will come to the closest noise position. If we go to the inspector of the behavior tree component on one of our sentries, then you will see that in the data field, we have our NPC and our target here. So the NPC is set to the instance of NPC itself, and the target is null for now. So if our sentry is in combat, then this target will be set to the target that is currently shooting at. So let's go ahead and change the faction to red. I'm going to get in front of this sentry. So now he's fighting me. I'm going to pause the game. Let's check the behavior tree on this NPC. So let's click on the NPC and let's go to AI. So here you can see that target is set at player NPC and the NPC is set to the NPC itself. So our code is working. Now we've not only solved the problem of potential errors due to confused preferences, but we've also made it possible for all tasks in our behavior tree to access the data on the behavior tree component. And you could do this to store all kinds of data without having to play with a lot of shared variables. So this is a more convenient way of implementing blackboards in your behavior trees. You know what, guys? We're going to use a dictionary in the shared variable list after all, because I actually forgot what my code was doing. So here we are in the behavior tree editor. So this is the custom inspector of the behavior tree. So I'm using a draw data method. So in the draw data method, I am indeed going through each list and printing the value on the inspector. So it doesn't matter if this is a dictionary or not. All that matters is getting the list. So we can have a dictionary instead of a list and still output a read-only list. So we're going to comment this out and we're going to use a dictionary instead. So let's create a variable called dictionary, which is going to be of type dictionary string t, or rather it should be dictionary string shared variable t. So I didn't find a way to return the list of values on the dictionary as a read-only list, at least not without generating a lot of garbage. So in order to keep this public property, we're going to use the list. So I'm going to uncomment this. So we're going to use the list to store the list of values, even though in most cases we'll be using the dictionary. So in the set method, we're going to say if dictionary contains name, then we're going to set dictionary name to the value, and we'll also remove the value from the list. Then we're going to add it. Otherwise, we'll add the value to the dictionary with the add method, and we're also going to add it to the list. In the add method, if the name is not defined, we're actually not going to do anything. So we're going to simply return after printing this error message. And if the dictionary already contains the variable, we'll print an error message and then return. Otherwise, we'll call add on the dictionary and we'll also add the value to the list. So the remove method is not actually going to be useful. And as you can see here, we have 0 references to it, because when you define the data of your behavior tree, then that's it, you're done. We don't need to remove the data later on. But just in case, so we're going to change this method. It's going to take a name. In case this name is empty, we're going to print an error message and then return. Otherwise, we'll remove the item from the list and then remove it from the dictionary. Now we get to the real reason why we use a dictionary. It's the get method. So for a list, we used to loop through the list and then return the value. Now with the dictionary, you can simplify this. We're going to call try get value on the dictionary with the name, and we're going to output the variable. If the return value of try get value is true, we're going to return the variable. Otherwise, we'll print an error message, variable named name, not found in BT data, and then return null. Now going back to the editor, the fact that in the inspector of the behavior tree script, nothing has changed is a good sign. It shows that our code is working as it should be. So we have successfully replaced the list with a dictionary, which makes our code a little bit more performant, especially when you're getting data from the behavior tree every frame, for example, in the getUtility method. So if you're doing this every frame for all the characters in the scene, it can have a small impact on performance. Thank you for watching. Remember to hit like if you liked the video, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.